Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're a brand new subscriber or a brand new viewer. My name is Kyle. Spider-Man No Way Home is coming out this week. I cannot wait to see it. I've already talked about Spider-Man 3, and in preparation, we'll be talking about the previous Spider-Man film, Far From Home. I didn't review this movie when it came out in 2019 because I was taking a break from my YouTube channel, but here we are talking about it today. This movie is once again directed by Jon Watts. Tom Holland once again reprises his role as Spider-Man, and in this movie, Peter Parker is going on a summer trip. He wants to hang with his friends, he's getting along with MJ, he wants to ask her out, doing all of those teenage kid stuff. Unfortunately, bad guys come into his path and he's faced against the Elementals. And we get a new character introduced named Mysterio who may not be who he seems. I just rewatched the movie last night. I hadn't seen it since it came out in theaters back in 2019. And my thoughts on it the first time was that I liked the movie, but I didn't think it was as good as Spider-Man Homecoming. I felt like some of the characterizations could have been a bit stronger, some of the CG was a little iffy. I felt like there were some questionable decisions in regards to physics in the movie, and I felt like my biggest issue was that the movie was so reliant on the character of Tony Stark, despite the fact that he's, spoiler alert, deceased now, and that Spider-Man is so crammed into the MCU that they're trying to just make an MCU movie rather than just a Spider-Man movie, which I felt Homecoming did better. And on this rewatch, I'm pretty much the same. I still like this movie, and let's talk about the positives first. Tom Holland does yet another great job as Peter Parker and as Spider-Man. I do think he fits both of those characters really well. Tobey Maguire will always be my Spider-Man, but Tom Holland is definitely the closest to the comic version of Spider-Man because he's still a kid. He looks like he's a teenage boy. So that definitely makes the audience feel more sympathetic towards him when there's danger because he looks like a kid. I definitely liked his chemistry with Zendaya more this time than the first time I saw it. I think they're a really cute couple, and I believe they're actually dating in real life, which is cool. But in the movie, they have really good chemistry. They embody that sort of puppy dog teenage love that was definitely needed for the story and needed for the characters. I might be in the minority here, but I thought Ned was hilarious in this movie. And I say that because everybody who I saw the movie with back in 2019 did not like him at all. But I thought he was hilarious. I really did. And even on this viewing, I still thought he was really funny. Ned was definitely like that surprise thing in Homecoming, the kind of character that you fear could be annoying, but he was funny in every single scene. I still felt that way about him in this movie. And then there's Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. Man, Jake Gyllenhaal has had a very interesting experience with Spider-Man. He almost played Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2 before Tobey Maguire decided to come back, and he was almost asked to play him in Spider-Man 3. He's had a weird history with this, and now he's in a Spider-Man movie not playing Spider-Man. But I definitely liked him as Mysterio, and there's going to be a couple of brief spoilers from here on out, so if you haven't seen the movie, definitely go see it before, coming back to this part of the review. But definitely the reveal that Mysterio is a villain was unsurprising to any comic book reader. But for me, I didn't read the comics as a kid, so I didn't really know much about the character. But if they wanted to maintain him as a hero in the movie, I do think it would have upset comic book viewers, but it could have made sense. But I definitely like the fact that he's a villain, although his reveal that he's a villain leads to an exposition dump. My biggest criticism is I don't think he's as strong as Vulture from Homecoming. I think Michael Keaton did such a great job of making that villain feel very relatable. You can understand what he's doing just doing it for the wrong reasons. This villain is just like he's getting back at somebody who's already dead. And speaking of the villain, I definitely think the Elementals were cool, but when I really started to think about the physics of it all, I still don't 100% get it. I know that the idea is that he's a master projectionist and illusionist, but if we're trying to have it in this sort of realistic world, because that's what they're trying to do with these Spider-Man movies, it doesn't make 100% sense. I do think the pacing in this movie can sometimes drag a little bit, which is weird because this movie is actually shorter than Spider-Man Homecoming. I felt like that movie had really good pacing. This movie has a couple of sequences that drag, particularly for direction that I think could have been a little bit quicker. I definitely understand that, like Homecoming, they're trying to make this high school comedy in the vein of a John Hughes movie, but this movie definitely has a little bit of sluggish pacing towards the first half. I think 80% of the CGI in this movie looks really good. There's definitely some sequences where you can just tell it was on a green screen, like when Happy meets Peter after he gets all bloody from getting hit by the train, which was an absolutely brutal scene. But that particular scene where the jet lands, it is so obvious they're not there. It's like, wow, I think CG looked better back in the early 2000s with the previous Spider-Man movies. Since we're still talking about spoilers, I do like the referencing to the multiverse in this movie because that becomes a reality during the end credits sequence where we have J.K. Simmons once again playing J. Jonah Jameson. I feel like even if that wasn't a possibility, the only reason that he is playing J. Jonah Jameson is that they could not find a better person. He is so perfect in that role, you cannot cast anybody else. But the end credit scenes to this movie, my mind just exploded when I saw it in the theater. It's like if I never saw the movie again, I would always remember that. But it leaves open so many possibilities that No Way Home is going to explore, and I cannot wait to see it. Overall, Spider-Man Far From Home was a movie that I definitely enjoyed. It has good performances, solid action sequences, funny moments, but the villain I definitely think could have used a little bit more work. I definitely think sometimes the CG can be a little bit wonky. The pacing is a little bit off at times, but I still definitely enjoyed this movie. It's just not as good as Homecoming to me. I'm going to give Spider-Man Far From Home a solid B. What do you guys think about Far From Home? Do you like it more than Homecoming or less than Homecoming? Please let me know down in the comment section below. I cannot wait to see Far From Home. I'm seeing it Thursday. I will have my review out to you guys as soon as I can. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Definitely give this video a like. The links to all my social media pages can be found in the description box below, as well as my business email and website. Any inquiries, also send them in the description box below. Thank you all so much as always for watching, and stay tuned.